Do you love your twin? Do you hate your twin? Sometimes it's borderline. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, I'm the Cowhat Librarian, and I stumbled onto this graphic novel during a recent trip to my local public library, and I quite enjoyed it and thought it would be worth talking about. It's called Twin Cities by Jose Pimienta, and it was a lot of fun. Fernando and Teresa are twins. They live in the southern portion of Mexicali, a municipality that stretches across from northern Mexico into the southern United States. There's a border crossing in the center of the city separating Mexicali, where they live, from Calexico, north of the border, technically in the United States. As the story begins, they're finishing up their elementary school years. They've attended the same school, they've lived together, they've shared a bedroom. They even had a cute nickname bestowed upon them by their family, calling them the Lulus. And they've been about as close as people can get. But that's about to change. Teresa wants to step out on her own and wants to challenge herself with a more academically inclined school. And so in the new school year, she'll be heading through the border checkpoint every day to Calexico to attend a school there. Meanwhile, Fernando will stay attending a local school in Mexicali. As things start, it seems to be working out okay. They meet new people, things seem to be going sort of well. Teresa makes a new group of friends and gets along with the nuns and seems to be doing okay. And Fernando finds a brand new best friend who always has great snacks, has really fun taste in music, and is very, very proud of being Mexican. But the happiness doesn't last long. Fernando's friend has all these things, but he's very, very, very anti-American, and his parents aren't around much, and he's making his money to buy all this stuff somewhere. Meanwhile, Teresa is finding it harder and harder to keep up in her studies in her new school, and despite her best efforts, her grades are no longer the high 90s they were in her previous school. They're dipping much lower. She's in no danger of failing, but this change of her fortunes in terms of grading really, really concerns her. And even though the two of them were incredibly, incredibly, incredibly close in the past, when they spend time together now, they bicker constantly about their state in the world, about what they should be doing with their time, about whether Fernando is watching the TV too loudly while Teresa is trying to do homework, and about the state of affairs with Teresa's long in progress, never completed new bedroom so they can finally have separate rooms. And the story amps up from there. It was great. I'm Canadian. I live in the Great White North, and my experience with Hispanic people and Mexican people and Southern American culture is next to nil. But the creator of this graphic novel really, really gave me a great sense for what it's like to live on both sides of that border. And having that tug at your family if one member wants to be more north of the border and the other the south. I'd never heard of Mexicali before. I thought it was something invented for this book. And when I started reading about it, I was intrigued. And the creator of this just did a heck of a job portraying it in here. It was marvelous. The lure of opportunity for Teresa in the north and the things that she just can't access south of the border. The home feel of the southern part of Mexicali for Fernando and their parents, and how familiar it is, and how there's all this great culture there that he feels Teresa's missing out on by crossing the border. It's wonderful. It's a great family dynamic. There's some solid coming of age elements in it. And the art style was great. Just clear, expressive, colorful. Not a lot of gradients and other stuff, just mostly solid shading, and it is a undeniably effective art style. In short, I recommend it. If you like things like Sunny Side Up by Jennifer and Matthew Holm, I think you'll really like this. The idea of two siblings that are sort of heading in different directions with their lives. Alternatively, if you like some of Hope Larson's recent graphic novels, the trilogy that included All Together Now and All My Friends, I think you'd really enjoy this as well. I highly recommend it. Now, with that said, it wasn't perfect, and there are spoilers ahead because I have to talk about the deal breakers. Okay, the deal breaker is simply this. While they receive roughly equal screen time, so to speak, in the book, Teresa's story, in my opinion, is pushed to the back by the graphic novel's creator. Fernando's friend has all this money, and as it turns out, it's because he sells marijuana. He sells joints to people. And he gets Fernando involved in it and gives him some to hang on to. Meanwhile, Teresa's biggest problem in life is that her grades aren't as high as they used to be. And to help get extra credit, she's going to sell some candy bars. Those two stories intertwine later on, where Teresa finds the stash of marijuana in Fernando's bag, and because she's interrupted, she just tucks it away in her lunch kit, puts it in her backpack, and forgets all about it until they're nearing a border crossing checkpoint the next morning when she's going to school, and she has to quickly throw it out of the car to make sure that the authorities don't find anything and think that they're smuggling drugs into the United States. Well, as a result of that, Fernando doesn't have that stash anymore and doesn't have money for it, and his former friend demands either the return of it or the money for it and starts beating Fernando up. Teresa comes to his rescue, gives up the money from selling the chocolate bars for extra credit as a fundraiser for her school, and saves Fernando. And in the end, they ultimately make up. And all that stuff was written well, but Teresa's story got the short end of the stick. She got stuck with the stereotypical, oh, my grades aren't good enough story, while her brother was dealing with having this new friend and getting involved in drug dealing inadvertently and having someone who wanted money from him or was going to beat him up. Compared to that, Teresa not getting, 95s and 96s in her classes seems pretty darned unimportant to me. And worst of all, Fernando's part of the story is resolved. He and Teresa reconcile, which is one of the main conflicts in the book, and that was great. But he's no longer friends with his former friend at the end, and that's fine too, and it's resolved. Teresa, no resolution here. We have no idea what happens to her grades in the future. We have no idea how she pays back the money or what she has to do to make things right for the fundraiser for her school. We have no idea because the creator didn't think it was important. And that's a shame. The rest of this was so well done, so well written. I don't know what the creator was thinking when they just abandoned Teresa's story. It seems kind of unfair. Still, even with that flaw, I highly recommend Twin Cities. Go borrow it from your local public library. You won't regret it. And speaking of things you won't regret, if you use and appreciate the services offered by your local public library, why not take just 1 minute and let the powers that be know exactly that? Tell a counselor, tell your mayor, tell your local MP or MLA that you use your local public library and that you support them. We're at a time where some public libraries are having trouble finding sustainable funding to keep improving the materials, programs, and services that we all use so much. And a few words in the right ears might make a world of difference. And if you happen to be a library staff member, don't forget that watching my videos counts as professional development time. With that, thanks for watching, folks. By all means, please like, please subscribe, and please check back and see what else I have to talk about from the Cowhat Library. Thank you. Bye now.